Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Hello and welcome to another Red Shirt Podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Nigel, the skies are grey, it's getting cold, it's the last day of September, and, well, what a night last night was. All I can say is, Viva Ronaldo.
Viva Ronaldo. I mean, the guy just is a phenomenon, isn't he? And, I'm sure we're going to talk about the game. And he, for 90 minutes, it was anonymous. He had some great opportunities, didn't do it. But then that's why we got him. We moved heaven and earth to get him for clutch moments like that. He's like the Michael Jordan, isn't he? Just, if you need somebody in that last second of the game to win it for you, you get the ball to Ronaldo. And that's what he did last night. I loved it.
Well, it's amazing because we'll start at the game, we'll start with the game. So United obviously reshuffled back four due to injuries and suspensions. So there was no Wan-Bissaka. Maguire and Shaw were out injured, which meant that Lindelof, Dalot, and Telles came into the defence. There was only Varane that remained, and obviously David De Gea. United obviously went for a midfield. Obviously, they decided to go centrally with Pogba and McTominay. You had Sancho and you had Green. Sancho on the left, and Sancho on the right. No, Greenwood on the right, Sancho on the left.
Yeah.
Bruno's the number 10. And obviously you had Ronaldo up front. And boy, you could see it was like a makeshift team on it. I mean, you look at...
But on paper though, crikey, I was actually happy when I saw it. I thought, that's actually a really good team. I really liked the way it looked. Obviously, I got all the Fred haters, blowing up my phone saying, Fred's not playing. We're going to win this comfortably.
Well, you see, it's for me. I mean, like, before I talk about the defense, because obviously the defense was very disjointed. You look at, say, for instance, the midfield, and you can see why at times he has to play his McFred partnership or Matic in there. Because once you play sort of like Pogba in there, I always think that we lack this sort of like discipline. He's not a central defense. He's not a central midfielder, Pogba. Pogba's your luxury, isn't he? You either play him on the left or you play him on the right, but you've got to get him closer to the goal. You could see at times, there were times where, unfortunately, I mean, from a neutral's point of view, it must have been fantastic because what was happening was Villarreal were going from front to back through the lines. And it just seemed so easy for him, didn't it?
It was so, yeah. And I think Pogba's position is in the middle of the park. We just all need the confidence of that player that will mop up if he decides to go forward. I think he's in the right position. It's just put him to the left is wasted. Put him to the right, I think he's wasted. I think in the middle, just like he plays for France, but he's got a Kante to mop up for him. And before Matic's legs went, Matic could do that job. So the very first season, remember the first season under Mourinho, those two were brilliant. Do you remember like first 4 or 5 games we won 4-0? It's just Pogba had the license to roam and create opportunities, and Matic would clean up everything behind him. I just think we need a CDM.
I mean, it is obvious that we need a CDM, and I think they've got to get in the right sort of player. I know there's a lot of talk about Rice, but obviously this week, there's obviously more leanings towards Phillips, and Phillips for me is the player that they've got to get in.
Oh my days! I tell you what, if we get Phillips, that's it. I am just so happy. He is. I prefer him to Rice. I think every time they play together, he's the one that's looked more like the United player, the one that will put the tackle in, but the one that can play sublime ball as well. I know taking nothing away from Rice, but for me, Phillips is the guy. And actually, a friend of mine is Philip's godfather, so I've been teasing him quite a lot, saying, look, have a word.
Yeah, exactly. Get him down there.
I'm connected, my friend.
I mean, the thing think the thing is for me, I mean, I look at Phillips and I love his distribution. I think a lot of people, you know, don't appreciate how much of a good player he really is. I mean, if you look at like Leeds themselves as a team, they actually tick once he's playing. You know, they look a better balanced team.
So does England. He's just brilliant.
And I've got going back to last night's game. I mean, I was there, and it was nervous. I mean, if we were to turn around and to say that they could have been 2 or 3-0 up at half time, it would have been a true reflection of what was happening in front of us, wasn't it, Nigel?
Absolutely. I mean, the Gay was definitely man of the match. He's done it again, and he was just brilliant. But this game is very reminiscent of the Villa game. It was just with United, it's highs and lows. I think that's gonna be it for the whole season, and the reason why is because we do not have a pattern of play. Everyone who talks about the freestyle football, you know, relying on your stars to pull it out of the bag, and it's quite obvious now, based on the Villa game and the game last night, there is no philosophy on our football, and there's not going to be a philosophy on our football because Ollie, and you know, I'm blaming Ollie less because I now recognise that Ollie's a manager and not a coach. So Ollie has to do the right thing and sort out a proper coach who knows exactly what he's doing, who's got the technical nous to bring these players up a level and to get them to be more aware and to develop some kind of philosophy. Because Ollie hasn't got the capability, and McKenna hasn't got it, and neither has Carrick. So something has to change.
I mean, it's quite strange, really, because Villarreal, who are obviously unbeaten in La Liga and should have beaten Real Madrid on Sunday night, you know, they got a 0-0 draw. You could actually see the confidence in him. I mean, that's what a trophy brings. You know, winning a trophy, you could see it. You could see it on the pitch. You could see their pattern of play. You could see that everybody was comfortable with their positions.
Oh my
days! They knew what their job was. And it was actually interesting watching them because obviously you got like, you know, Unai Emery, who obviously was the manager of Arsenal, who was seeing a bit of a figure of fun, wasn't he, over here? And you're looking at him last night and you're thinking to yourself, have they got a better coach than us?
Yeah.
You know, have they got a better coach than us? And this isn't sort of like, you know, this isn't sort of like a character assassination of Ollie. It's just a true, honest opinion. You know, you're looking there and you're watching a team that sort of like, you know, they're confident, they're playing front to back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for all those people out there, and I know like a lot of people on Twitter having their campaigns and are saying that, you know, Delot's a much better player than Wan-Bissaka. He may be a better crosser, but you're not paid to cross,
Right.
You're actually paid to defend. And, you know, there was a reason why United tried to send him out on loan. I mean, obviously he hasn't, and we support him as a player. But last night just showed you that he hasn't got the quality to be a United player, has he?
Oh my days. The next time I see Umesh, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get both barrels. Did you not just miss Wan-B last night? Wan-Bissaka was, honestly, if he was on the pitch, it'd be a completely different game. And Dalot, you know, he just demonstrated why Wan-B is the main man at Old Trafford and will always be the main man. Because like you say, okay, even though there are some issues with him going forward, which I don't buy into, by the way, I think he's okay going forward. But in defence, that's why we need someone like Wan-B in our defence, because he's absolutely brilliant. And obviously, Dalot was culpable, and Tellers as well. They're both culpable for all of their major attacks. And the goal was just diabolical. It was like, that would never happen if Wan-Bissaka was there.
Because the thing was like in the first half, I mean, they could have been, you know, I'm going back to it, but they could have been 2 or 3-0 up. I mean, there was the chance where, like, obviously they got the shot off and De Gea pulls off a great save in the area. I mean, there was like 2 or 3. There was one for the header. There was, you know, a close range header where he pulls off a really good save. There was one to you know, from the left, and then there was obviously the first one for the right. And you could just see that United the fullbacks weren't comfortable with players running at him. Tellez, for me, he was diving in too quickly.
Yeah, committing himself too quickly, leaving loads of space back. So you see that chance where when Varane obviously misjudged the ball and it then goes through. I mean, where are the wing backs? They'll just keep diving in and committing themselves, and then Villarreal play a straight ball and they're always in. It was like, can nobody see this? And poor Bruno. I mean, obviously you were there, but Bruno, you could hear him screaming through the TV at the players. Get yourselves organised, get yourselves together.
I mean, the thing was, it was strange really because, like, you were thinking to yourself, well, he's got to change this. He's got to change this either in game time or he's got to change it at half time, and he didn't. And in the second half, I mean, to me, it was no surprise when we went 1-0 down. And again, it's on Dalot's side, isn't it? The winger gets wide, he puts the ball in, and there he is, Alcacer, Paquet Alcacer, who he's always been a threat in front of goal.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was nothing that David De Gea could do with that one because, in fairness, it was just a good move, and they've been knocking on the door for that long. It was no surprise when they went 1-0 ahead.
Well, it's funny with them, isn't it? Because Villarreal keep drawing, and they've drawn all their games in La Liga, and again, you can see that they have a problem scoring. Fortunately for us, they can't score. So when they scored a goal, that really is an indictment against them because for all their pressure and all their possession, they're not clinical in front of them for a goal. But even last night, that just shows how bad we are, that even they get a goal in the end. And I thought, it was a great goal, well taken. But the reality is, like you said, we should have been out. They should have been out of sight anyway. They're a bit more clinical. They're 2 or 3-0 up.
I mean, the frightening thing for me is that constantly, it almost seems as if we have to go goal down constantly to start playing, And again, United sort of like, and it's kind of funny because I'm going to talk through the goal, and the strangest thing about the goal, and it was a magnificent goal, and unfortunately, because Ronaldo gets the winner, nobody's really talking about Tellez's goal and how good it was. It was one of the best I've seen on a European night. And the strangest thing was when you were at the ground, you could hear the groans when Bruno had obviously, if you listen to it again, listen to the groans as he actually puts the ball over to the left where Tellez is. And any young guy, any old guy out there that plays football, if you want to watch technique and how he hit it with his laces, how he watches it, he gets over it, and then executes it. And then, Nigel, it's one of those that then he volleys, and then it hits the turf, and you can just see it speed up, and then it hits the back of the net, and everybody is just like absolutely galvanized in the ground because they've just witnessed one of the best goals, in European football. And
I'm surprised they're groaning because as soon as he plays the corner, you obviously immediately realise they've done this in training because it's one of those. It's not an obvious cross, is it? So it's like, okay, they've worked on something. Let's see if it works. But obviously, go on.
That's the continental. The thing is we're not seeing it from a continental point of view.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're just get it in the mixer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Get your centre half on it. Get it in the mixer. Whereas that was just, and you could see that it just knocked. I'm not saying it totally knocked the sails out of Villarreal, but it was they dealt with everything that was in front of them. They dealt with it, quite comfortably, quite calmly.
Yeah.
They dealt with it, and then you see that goal, and you're just thinking, wow. And then it's funny because obviously what happens then is that you've got a little bit of like what usually happens in sort of like, European football where the other team wants to sort of like manage it for like 5 minutes. And for me, I've got to say again, Ollie, he's not quick with his changes. I think it was 75 minutes where he makes his first change where, Cavani comes on. And the good thing about having Cavani on was he then lifted the actual crowd.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you saw he saw that ball that came over. Ronaldo gave it up because he thought it was going out.
I was just about to bring it up. Yeah.
And won the ball back. And that just uplifted the actual crowd, that galvanized.
Not only that, I mean, of course I saw that because I was going to bring that up. I thought, I'm glad you mentioned Cavani, but I thought that moment there, I think is pivotal to United now this season, because I think Ronaldo, for all the hype and everything around him, he had a bad game, he was having a terrible game, and the fact that he gave that ball up was very typical Ronaldo. It's like, that ball's a rubbish ball, I'm not going to go for it. Then Cavani comes and sprints, best part of 50 yards, and retrieves that ball. I think that sends a signal to Ronaldo that here, I don't care how big you are, you put the yards in for the team. For here, we are a team. It's not about you. And I know I kept banging on about, for Ronaldo, his only competitor is Messi. And Messi scored yesterday anyway, so he'll do a goal.
Tuesday night.
But he cannot fall into that mindset of, if this team's not up to standard, I'm not gonna play. That's Cavani demonstrating we're a team and we're gonna win as a team. I thought it was a brilliant moment. And I wonder what effect that has psychologically going forward. Like you said, it lifted the stadium, and I'm sure it's changed the mindset in that in that team now. So good on you, Cavani. I thought it was brilliant.
And then obviously what happens is you get the chance, don't you? He gets the chance at the far post, Cavani, and you think to yourself, it's in. Here's the winner with like 11 minutes to go. I think it was. The ball comes in, and you could hear you could feel the anticipation, the silence of when it just gone past the post and we'd realised it missed. And everybody's sort of like head in hand because you're thinking that's the chance.
I tell you what, mate, you should have looked at the betting patterns then, because I'm like, how on earth does Cavani miss that? Has he bet against himself or something? I thought, what? It's harder to miss.
That is kind of like Edison Cavani. When you watch him, he will miss more chances than he will score.
Yeah.
That's just the way he is. But the thing is like the focal point that he gave the attack, and the actual sort of like, strength of character that he gave it, which really changed it, really gave them something then to think about. And then we've got to come to, the point where, and I know a lot of people will be saying he's pulled rabbits out of hats today. He brings on Lingard and Fred in the 88th minute. The 88th minute. And obviously, Fred goes back to sort of like left back. He was sort of like in the left back position because he replaced Tellez. And it's funny because, again, you could, people are kind of thinking, well, is this it? Is this what we've got to come on? Fred and like Lingard. But you've got to, I know it's kind of like not conventional, but it worked for him, didn't it? Because the two guys that came on contribute to the goal.
Right, so I've got a couple of things to say here. So number one, my boy Fred is back. You see, you people keep talking about Fred. But look at that cross. First time cross as well, ball comes in, first time cross, stands it up beautifully for Ronaldo to nod down. Then Jesse lays it off and Ronaldo scores that goal. And I'm telling you what, it doesn't happen without Fred. That's all I'm saying. Just saying. Doesn't happen without Fred. That's the first thing. The second thing I was going to mention is obviously Jesse Lingard. The fact that he is playing so well. He's in a purple patch right now. So I'm surprised he brought him on so late. There's an argument that he should have come on a lot sooner. And he makes an immediate impact. So I'm chuffed a bit for him as well. The third thing I'm going to say is you've all seen, I don't know if you saw Van der Beek's face, because obviously people are panicking on Van der Beek.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'm just heartbroken for that guy. And if I was him now, obviously, Ollie's sold him a pack of lies and he's probably saying, look, you're really important, we're gonna use you. If ever there's an opportunity for Van der Beek to get on that pitch, it's got to be that game. And the fact that he just snubs him again, brings on Fred and Jesse. Where does he go from there?
I've got to say, though, when Matic came on, Matic brought a calmness to the midfield.
Oh, without doubt,
He came on. We looked a lot more assured. We looked a lot more comfortable. It's just a shame he hasn't got the legs, because me personally, a lot of the time now, I don't think Matic can play with Fred. I think that's kind of like, been, we've seen that on a new number of occasions because they play in the same space.
Yeah.
So, but Matic and McTominay, I think, could be, the future. He's got to make a decision, because he's got to think of the balance of the team. And I think what we will say is that the balance of the team's just not right.
I think Matic is a 30-minute man, though. I don't think it's fair on him and his body to expect any more out of him than 30 minutes. So whether it's coming on for the first half or coming in for the last 30 minutes, you're not going to get more out of him. I think we have to use him properly. Otherwise, it's just, otherwise he'll do great and then he'll do awful because his legs just can't, that's as much as he's got in his legs as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know about you, Nigel, but I'd be more than happy to be a 30-minute man at this time of my life.
I saw the cogs turning in your head.
I'd give everything for 30 minutes. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. But the ball comes over from Fred. It's a good cross. And I've got to say, a lot of people don't realise, actually, the real contribution of Jesse Lingard, because he knows what he's doing there, doesn't he? When the header comes in and he lays it off to Ronaldo, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's absolutely genius. The head comes down, he lays it off, and then tries to get out of the way, so he kind of lies down on the floor. Saying, "Oh man, I tell you what, it's his goal really. Everyone is lauding Ronaldo, but that goal is Jesse's goal 100%. And it's brilliant."
But again, cometh the hour, cometh the man. He's there, isn't he, Ronaldo? I mean, I think a lot of people have got to realise that that's what he's now come here to do. It's not a 90-minute super show.
No.
It's what he does in 10, in 15 seconds or a minute of football. That's what he's, he is come to actually do that, and it was a really good finish. And the atmosphere at Old Trafford was amazing. I mean, going out of the ground, being in the ground, it truly was absolutely crazy.
And credit where credit's due. At least we made those substitutions. At least we made those changes. At least Ronaldo, obviously anonymous for most of that game, steps up and does what he does. So I'm happy, and I'm well done to the team. It's one of those games that I thought we would just win. I just had that. We've played those games, haven't you? Where even though your goal's getting peppered, there's just something about the game that says you're going to get your chance, and when you get your chance, you might end up winning. And I just had that feeling, so I was just so happy.
It's funny, isn't it? Because
the question I was going to ask you, Vernon, is, to what extent is it going to paper over the cracks, that win? Well, or do you think no one's blind to this anymore?
No, and if we're going to be honest, I think the moderate fans are slowly changing their opinions. I think it's becoming harder and harder. It was a massive win, last night. I mean, it was almost a must-win game so early on in the Champions League group stage, because, to be honest with you, the pressure on him today, if we'd have lost or even drawn, would have been unbelievably high. It would have been bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes you try not to gauge, the feeling of fans on Twitter, especially when it's happening, because the emotions are just so high. They're so strong, the emotions. But there would have been an absolute Twitter meltdown last night if we would have lost. It is. You can't dismiss that. It really would have. And I think, I don't think the board would have sacked him. I don't think they would have sacked him. But there would have been real questions asked on him. And the reason why I say that is because you're about to face Atalanta back to back.
Yeah.
And they're a good team.
Well, they're the best team in that group, aren't they? Well, considered the best opposition.
Yeah, exactly. And you speak to anybody that knows a bit about Italian football, and this is a good team.
Yeah.
You know, this is a good team. And the thing is like, you know, you could see where like Villarreal, they were kind of like their mindset was, well, look, you know, we can get a goal, you know, a result at Old Trafford, maybe a draw or you know, a win, and then we've got young boys back to back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, you can see it. And this is again, United lost and went out of the Champions League last year because basically they lost away to the worst team, which was Istanbul. Yeah. Everybody else took, you know, won back-to-back games against them. And it's the same in this group. Whoever drops the points against Young Boys Burn,
yeah,
they're going to be the team that could drop out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, again, a bad result in the first game has really put the pressure on him. Now, I'm hoping,
but you know, maybe over the long run that might prove to be a bit of a godsend, because there's no messing about. It was must, like you said, last night was must win. Even though we're determined not to win it, you know, we pull it out of the bag and win it. Now, you know, all the other games are now must-win games. There's no area for maneuvering, so we can't pretend, or we can't rely upon, you know, draws. Now we've got to win every single game and make it absolutely sure.
Well, this is it. I mean, now you've got you've got 3 points, and because of the results in the first games that were played, it wasn't too bad, because obviously, you know, Villarreal drew, you know, with Atalanta, so they're now on 1 point. The thing is you've just got to basically regroup and make sure that you qualify, because the thing is he can't afford. He's already started on a bad run, and like I say, you can feel the mood shifting all along. And to me now, you know, the team now has to dust themselves down from this poor run, and now focus on putting another run together, because now we're in October, and we know in the next 4 weeks that tough games start. We haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
You know, in the league. So
well, I mean, I've you know, the reality is we always do well against the teams with, you know, against the top 6 or the top 8 teams. It's the teams in the bottom half of the league that we struggle with. So if things go to form, we're going to enter a high period, aren't we? You know, this high and low I keep talking about. We'll get all the results, and everybody be on a high. And then the games that we should win will start to draw again. So you know, we are consistently doing this. So we are consistently inconsistent. So it's no longer a surprise to me that we pulled it out of the bag last night, because that is exactly what we're getting with United. It's just highs and lows, because there is no philosophy. It's just on the days that the big players turn up, we might win or draw. The days they don't turn up, like last week when Bruno, you know, smacked it into orbit, and I'm sure it's just gone past Neptune, that ball. It still hasn't come down. Then, you know, we're going to have lows, aren't we? And so I think I also was just thinking about it, and maybe it's interesting to see what you think. There's 2 things. Number one, I don't think they're going to get rid of Ollie. I think the whole project is centered around this whole getting back to United's core values. And anybody else now is an outsider in it, unless you're gonna, you know, there's no other people that understand the United DNA. So I think we're stuck with Ollie for the long haul. I really do believe it. I think, but what can happen is, like what I said earlier, but Ollie can make a statement by getting rid of the back room, or by getting rid of his number 2.
He's not going to do that. But I think
he has to. I don't think he has. I think if the board have got kind of say to you, Ollie, you make a statement, you get rid of McKenna, you get rid of Carrick, and you bring 2 people who know what they're doing. Otherwise, your job's gone. That's what I'd say anyway. Because he's not going. It's too much of a figurehead.
The thing is like, you know yourself, when you get into a position of management, you empire build. You know, you put in together people who are going to protect you. So he's not going to get rid of them. I think what happened with United was, especially under Ferguson, his coaching team evolved. So they became managers, didn't they? So he was then able to, every 3 years, he'd bring in somebody new. But that's because his number 2s were leaving, basically, to become managers. Like, you look at Kairos, he left from being United's number 2 to becoming Real Madrid's manager. You know, Brian Kidd.
Brian Kidd did the same, didn't he?
Yeah, McLaren. They all left to go into, their own men, basically. They're into positions and becoming their own men. Now, I think with Ole, I think the problem that he's got now is he's got strong, experienced, older players, and they're the ones that will be in the ear of Woodward. Like Ronaldo. Ronaldo's not going to take being second best.
No.
And if they go on a poor run, he'll be going upstairs and saying, this ain't good enough. You need to replace him. That's the problem.
But they're not going to replace Ole, are they? That's what I'm saying. You can't.
I think, to be honest with you, if he doesn't deliver by the end of this year, so for instance, if they don't get through the Champions League, they don't qualify, they don't win something, they might make the top 4. I think the board will say, look, we're going to have to look at somebody new because it will get stale after that.
Yeah, but you said it yourself. You said it yourself. His empire built. So you've got all the United old boys in all the positions.
Yeah, but
who's director of football?
The thing is it's like the situation with Pochettino at Spurs. You're knocking on the door for a couple of seasons, you don't get there, and then the 4th season it becomes stale. Your players just can't perform, and I think he's got until the end of this season, because the other thing is once you see, the thing with United is the fans don't vote with their feet, do they? The fans never vote with their feet. Other clubs, you look at Liverpool, Hodgson got sacked because 10,000 fans just didn't turn up.
Yeah.
United fans, for every one fan that doesn't go, there's another 10 fans that are after that ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is now is, you look at like last night, Villarreal only brought 240 fans.
Yeah.
240 fans. So that's 74,000 United fans that are actually there. West Ham, 72,000. These are games that sometimes they're hard to, sell out, especially the Carabao Cup, and especially against a team like Villarreal that are bringing no fans.
Yeah.
You're filling that ground, and it's because of expectation. They're there for the Ronnie factor. They're there because they're excited about the team. And the performances that people aren't daft. United fans are no fools. They'll be supporting the team, but most of them know that last night wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Most of them will turn around and say that that's not good enough for a United team. They're not,
I don't see Ole resigning. Yeah.
No, he won't resign.
But and obviously it's difficult to sack a legend. Obviously, I know Chelsea have done it, but then that Roman Abramovich is a different animal altogether.
But you see,
I'm saying that there's how do you make that? I'm not saying that he should even go. I'm just saying I think he needs a philosophy, and McKenna and Carrick aren't there yet. They're apprentices,
Well,
anyway.
I think the thing with Chelsea is you make a very good point, because they sat Lampard while they were still in the Champions League. They were still in it. They sacked him and they won it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, that's their model. Their model is just being ruthless. You don't perform, you're out. Now, United, obviously, like you say, they want the DNA back. They want it to go back.
Family club.
Well, they decided basically it was just too much of a poison chalice under Mourinho, and it was too negative. So they're responding. But I think the thing is that most United fans, and I'm going with the moderate United fans especially, they're turning. And the problem is once they start turning, you're in real trouble.
Yeah.
You are in real trouble,
Yeah.
Anyway, Nigel,
I was going to say just one final thing is before you move on. So back to the game, and I don't. There's one bit in the game where Bruno tracked back into midfield, and actually, like an old-fashioned midfielder tracks back and intercepted one of their attacks, got the ball back, and went on a bit of an amazing run, and almost set up a chance for us. And I thought, ooh, I know it sounds controversial, but I've mentioned like, you know, people that could maybe step into that CDM role in the short term while we look for while we get a CDM. And I mentioned not Lingard, the defender Lindelof as a makeshift CDM, and obviously Ollie's not taking my advice on that. I did wonder whether Bruno might make for a makeshift, because the way he intercepted was brilliant. I thought he did it twice.
Yeah,
where he actually intercepted or interrupted their play, got the ball, and set off. I thought, you know what? Maybe Bruno could be our interim CDM, because we've got an embarrassment of attacking options. So, you know, why if Pogba and Bruno literally swapped? I'm thinking that might work.
Oh,
should at least try. Ollie, if you're listening, try it on the training pitch this week. See what happens. See Bruno.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Nigel, but I don't think you will be. Anyway, anyway, let's go to quickly just before we finish, wrap it up. We play Everton on Saturday. It's a 12:30 kickoff. We've got to win before the international break, haven't we, Nigel? The international break's just about to start.
Yeah.
City play Liverpool, so it's a big game, you know, for United. Last week we we dropped points, unfortunately, but the results went our way. We need to stay in there, don't we, before you know there's a gap that starts appearing. So we've got to beat Everton this week, haven't we?
We absolutely have to, and you know, if I'm Everton, I'm thinking. Well, obviously, you look at that game, and everybody knows, you know, with the absence of a style of football, with just freestylers, that if you really think about it, you know, you can get amongst it, you can cause us problems. It's a must-win for our game. It's a must-win for us. But my problem is, Vernon, I am now completely convinced, because we have no style of football, we could win it 4-0, or we could lose it 1-0 in the final minute.
Yeah.
So it's highs and lows. So it's almost impossible to make a prediction, because there's no style of. I know what I would do. I know that we can more than beat them on paper. But now we're in that horrible position where, you know, eyes are now wide open as far as we're concerned. There's no philosophy.
No.
If it's City against Everton, we know what the result's going to be. United against Everton, we could win it easily. Could also lose it easily.
Yeah.
So
anyway, prediction.
My prediction is I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win again.
Okay. I'm gonna go for, I think we'll be galvanized. I'm hoping we're gonna be galvanized after. So I'm gonna go for a 2-0 win United. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, Rafael Benitez is back, you know, kind of like what looks a bit like a snooker player with a suit that's a bit too big for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the thing. Benitez will play football. He's not going to come and defend. You know,
well, he will defend. He'll play tight. He always plays tight and then tries to hit you on the break. But they've got some decent players, but I expect United to win. You know, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's a good striker, isn't he? You know, he's dangerous. Yeah. You've got, you know, Iwobi that's there. You got a few decent players, I think. You know, so yeah. Anyway, Nigel, that wraps it up for another Red Shirt podcast. You know, it's actually, even though it's grey and it's cold in Manchester, we got the result that we needed last night. So, you know, as we usually say, love football, keep safe, and
keep that red flag flying.
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.